Well, welcome to everyone who is joining us for this game at the 2015 Glenhill Ladies International. We are already into the fourth round of games, and this is the 3:30 draw for Divisions C and D. Each of these teams have already played one round, and this is the second set of games for them. The game we're covering this afternoon is the game between Silvana Tirinzoni's team, who is playing Eugenia Demkina. In the first round of games, Tirinzoni managed to win 5-2 against Hannah Fleming, so she already has one win under her belt. And Demkina lost quite a close game, 4-3 against Lindman. We're already into the third end. In the first end, Tirinzoni had the hammer and managed to take a 2, and the second end was pretty close until Demkina managed to play a draw round a front guard, and then managed to get a 2 back because of that. So we're in the third end. We play 8 ends in each of these games, or the bell at 2 hours, and at present we've got quite swingy ice. The teams are getting about 5 foot swing, so it's been giving the opportunity for very aggressive games, which is great to see. And the call I think here is that there's a draw round, there's a front guard, and Demkina is trying to draw a red stone onto the front of the yellow stone that's just at the front of the 4 foot. It's a good draw. I'm going to lock that almost right on it. Glenhill has become a very well established competition at Braehead, and I'm delighted to see the success of attracting international teams from all over the world, including 3 Scottish teams and quite a number of Swiss teams, and then several from Russia and other countries, and we'll go through some of the teams in a short while. Demkina slightly concerned about the angles here, but looks like she's looking for a back weight shot, perhaps going to play onto her red stone and then split the 2 reds and take the yellow out. Just trying to avoid it catching the yellow, and it manages that, but leaves the 2 quite close by, and unfortunately doesn't manage to take the yellow out. So opportunity here for probably a double on the front red, with the opportunity of to be able to lie 3. Angles might not be that good for that, but so should be able to manage to keep this slightly off the left hand side of nose of the front stone and hold our shooter. Again, looking slightly high and doesn't remove it. Yellow at the front of the 8 foot behind the guard, probably one of the stones that she should be concerned about. Quite difficult to get it. Choices are that she could draw another one round, depends how aggressive she wants to be. Could draw one round the right hand side of the front red and get one into the another one into the 4 foot, or be more defensive and minimise the stone at the back of the 8 foot. However, that would then mean that Tirinzoni would then make a play on the stone at the front of the 4 foot. I think in fact she's gone for the guard on this red stone, so and that's over curling, so that's going to come up short and not give her a guard, and that is probably the worst of situations for her, allowing Tirinzoni to be able to play off the red and flop into the 4 foot, well guarded by 2 reds at the front. So a good try, but doesn't quite get hidden, and that does allow the same shot and allow Demkina to take more control over this end. Now the games that are on at the moment, Gina Aitken from Scotland is playing GLI, and the score there after 2 ends is 1-all. And Dreendal on sheet 5 is presently 2-0 down to Hasselberg, and over on sheet 1 Hannah Fleming is 1-all against Roth, again after 2 ends. Good opportunity for Tirinzoni to swing another one round into the 4 foot, well hidden. Just got to be a wee bit careful that looks like the left hand front red could be driven into the house, so just need to make sure that the 2 stones don't or can't easily be taken out by that stone. So she's got a very good line on this one, just sweeping it for weight, and that's coming in really nicely. So a super stone right into the 4 foot, and now Demkina in quite a lot of difficulty. And needs to try and minimise the risks now of losing a big end, so she's calling the shot to right up onto the stone of the 4 foot. What she can't afford to do is to bounce off that. And needs to be very careful that she doesn't leave the stone that she's playing at the moment in a position where it can be got at. And this one's hanging a bit high but coming gradually, but looks a wee bit deep as well. Maybe going to take it round. I'm sitting down now, but it's just going to bounce a wee bit. And Tirinzoni will have to make a decision about whether she can get the inside of that. And looking at that, she probably can do. Considering whether she can take the guards off, I think that's probably not going to be a significant option. Demkina's stone at the in the 8 foot obviously can be used to attack the stone in the 4 foot, so she has to be very careful not to leave that there, I think. So thinking about putting a guard on it. Still think there's a possibility that if she came down and could manage to get even a tap shot on that red, as long as you got the nose of it, that could be very effective. Section D is a section of 5 teams, and Hannah Fleming and Nina Ross team are playing on sheet 2, which unfortunately we're not able to show you. And the Swiss team, Team ARA PWC, is sitting out. Evinia Demkina is a Russian junior team, and as far as I know, this is the first time that they've been here, but I can't say that with any certainty. But Tirinzoni has certainly been here a number of times at the Glen Hill, has been a regular. So an attempt to remove some of the guards, not wholly successful, and leaving a chance for a play on the red onto the yellow, but that won't leave her hidden. Could play a soft weight shot at it and attempt to lie 2 in the 8 foot. Again, the stone at the on the centre line in front of the 8 foot is a threatening one. I think probably outcounts the red over on the right hand side as we look at it. Having taken the guard off, the red is more exposed where it is. So I think she's maybe making the play that it would be better to get another one than the other side, just to minimise the risk of a bigger end. We're going to skip stones at the moment, so there's 2 stones to come from both teams. Sweeper's well off it at the moment. Oh. Like the weight looks good weight. Just sweeping for line. It seems to over curling now. Got to be very careful not to bounce off that, since she's going to. I think just going to just catch the edge of it, and that now allows for a play on that stone, and possibly might even want to try and get the inside of it. It's quite difficult to get it, but yeah. Just considering whether she wants to hit nose, or I think that's what they've gone for, nose or just inside nose probably is the call. I've been interested to see what if this is played. It's interesting to see whether Demkina looks like she would probably have to make a play on the red, or might have to play a guard on it just to save the possibility of a loss of 3 or 4. Sweeping quite hard for line on the front guards, quite close on this line, and just caught it. And so that changes the position of the guards. So I think the call this time is just for a draw around the red on the front front of the left hand side of the 4-foot. I think she's trying to draw around behind that. Has it got the weight to get round? Probably has, yeah. Just hanging a wee bit high, might be a bit heavy in fact. Right. Well, the question then is whether she wants to make a play on her front yellow, which would leave the red on the left hand side probably quite badly exposed, with probably 3 or 4 yellow counters. I think the shot is probably hitting the yellow at the front, just slightly on the left hand side of it, raising onto the red, and rolling clear of it so that it leaves the left hand red at the front of the 4-foot exposed, possibly for a big shot. She makes a play on the left hand red, she needs to be careful where she rolls to, because there would be a possibility of a double for the red to lie 2. The other thing that happens is playing the left hand side of the red onto the of the yellow onto the red potentially still leaves something of a guard at the front. So, but I think actually what they're playing is playing the right hand side of the red. In fact, sorry, this is the last stone. John is pointing out to me. So yeah, so my apologies for that, but this is the last stone. She's going to hit the right hand side of this yellow stone onto the red, and the super's hanging off at the moment. Right, heavy stone, and that's it, and to lie 2, and that gives Tirinzoni a 4-2 lead over Demkina after the third end of this 8-end game. Just looking across to the other 2 teams in the division, Hannah Fleming and Nina Roth. After 3 ends, Nina Roth is 2-1 up against Hannah Fleming. And in the C division, Gina Aitken, having been 1-all against Michelle Jaggi, had hammer but lost an additional 1, so it's 2-1 to Michelle Jaggi against Gina Aitken. And in the other game, Hasselberg in fact stole a 3 against Dreendal and is 5-0 up after 3 ends. So looking very positive for her team. Demkina calling a wide guard. Some of the other scores that we had earlier on today, Anna Fowler lost her first game from Anna Fowler from England, lost her first game 8-3 to Kristen Scarsline. Lauren Gray had a very good result against Feltshire, getting a draw 5-all, and Feltshire has had a lot of success at this competition before, so that's a good result I think for Lauren Gray. And Sissy Osland from Sweden had a 10-3 win over Ursi Hegner, and Sissy Osland has been here a number of times before as well, so it's great to see her back. So Demkina having put up a guard on the left hand side, now making a play on these yellows, and I suspect trying to get a hit and roll off the front yellow, trying to get behind the guard and to move these away from the midline. Seems to be over curling though. I'm pretty sure we'll see a hit on that front red now. All these teams play a round robin, so we'll play each other, so there's 4 games in this division. And then we go to quarterfinals, semis and finals on Sunday. I'm taking a wee bit more ice to try and make the play on this one. Quite a long way to roll to get behind the guard. So a very nice shot. Yep, that's a really super shot. Managed to play that very well. Very good judgment, and had to force the removal of the guard. Probably quite early in the game, in the end, to play a hit on the yellow. Looks like they want to have another guard on that red. I may well play this 2 or 3 times. Doesn't want to get too close to this one, in case it allows them to play a double, which is a possibility now. For those of you who want to join us for future games, information will be on the Curl Braehead website for the games that we're planning to show. Not all of these will be commentated, and we will do our best to provide some commentary for as many games as possible. The stone needs to sit down. Oh dear. No mistake there. And gives Tirinzoni the opportunity to hit and lie for 2. And now becomes much harder for Demkina to get the 2 that she wanted to get back level, and she may well have to consider just trying to get her 1 and minimise the risk of Tirinzoni getting further away from her. A good play with taking the stone right across, so really now forced to either play a double or play a tap to try and move the stones around a bit. A tap shot moving the stones to the back of the 8 foot might give her an opportunity to get her 2, but she's obviously electing not to do that and is going for bailing out of this end and hoping, I suppose, to get a blank. If she can. Plays a good double, rolls away, and will now, I think, see a very defensive last few stones. For those of you who listened in to the Scottish mixed doubles, which we had a couple of weekends ago at Braehead, I have to apologise that Leslie Ingham-Brown is not here as my fellow commentator. He's I think mainly on photographic duties. I'm looking over to my left and he's got a very large telephoto lens, and I did try and persuade him to come and do some commentary, but I think that might be later in the weekend. And we will also try and bring in 1 or 2 other coaches and others tomorrow to entertain you a wee bit better than I can. So Tirinzoni just playing first of our skip stones. Probably wanting to try and hit and maybe roll across towards the red stone at the left of the back of the head, but realistically this end now looking as if it's going to be either blanked or a 1. Just needs to be careful that she doesn't jam the red back towards the other red at the back of the head. It would just touch the line if it was, so sure she'll play on the safe side of on the nose or slightly off centre. It's rolled to a very good position, and this will be a hit and roll away for a blanked end. Off the sweeping, so it must be slightly high of the stone. Gets it no problem. Well played. Blank, and after 4 ends, Tirinzoni is 4-2 up on Demkina. In the game in the other division, the C division, after 4 ends, Hasselberg is 5-1 up on Drindle. Drindle has now taken a 1, and the moment the score's not up on the Aitken Jaggy game, and neither in the Fleming Roth game, so I'll let you know as soon as those results or those ends results go up. Tirinzoni will play a couple of stones into the head, and that will force Demkina to put up a corner guard. Important for Leeds to be able to position the stones exactly where the skip wants them. Don't want them too far out and not too close to the rings either. That's a pretty good result on that one. And with the ice curling the extent that it is, that's quite easy to get a good draw around that guard, so we're very pleased in that position. The second stone being brought in. I just wanted to play everything in the head, so Demkina is going to play similar to her last end, where she played a very nice hack weight shot with a hit and roll off the front yellow and try and get in behind the guard. This one's looking a bit tight though. Over curling, I think, and probably going to get nose. Yep, that's okay, but I think I'll just take the guard off. That's probably a bit thin to try and get the double, so just playing for the one guard to come off. Doesn't roll away, and in fact that does leave the opportunity for Demkina to come down and make a play on that yellow stone. This looks like she just wants to come and sit on it. Need to be careful that she doesn't get too guarded up here with the way those stones are lying. If she plays a stone right onto the yellow, then a guard out the front will make it quite difficult for her to be able to make the play that she wants. This one's over curling, slightly short in weight, and so now you've got 3 guards at the front. Tirinzoni thinking she wants to keep things pretty clear, so it's going to play a strike weight on that stone and clear the 2. Which of course would then leave Demkina an opportunity to play another play round onto that yellow. just trying to now think whether it's actually better with the 3 guards out the front to be more aggressive and play a stone into the 8 foot. And yeah. All about positioning the stone carefully. Trying to work out what the play is that the opposition skips can make. Play a guard here, then the opposition skip might decide to come around the guards. And because Demkina being 4-2 down, needs to start making a play where she tries to get at least a 1 if not a 2 out of this. And this one's just going to clip off the front one, so in fact that's probably not what she wanted. It's opened up the guards at the front, so they're probably in a more advantageous position for Demkina. It also allows Demkina to play a shot on this yellow. Trying to work out whether it's better to make a hit and a roll. I think the shot at the front that they need to be careful of is the yellow rays onto the midline red, which goes across onto the stone on the 4 foot at the moment. So she probably wants to leave that as a stone that she might want to play later on in the end. So the importance here is to, in playing the hit, is to not get to the midline. So quite a firm weight for the shot. Going out quite high at the moment. Maybe she's playing the double. Well, I'm not sure that that's what she was calling to play. And wanted to get this one in somewhere in around the 8 foot. It's hanging very high at the moment, so she's quite heavy in fact, and sweeping to get past her own stone, but she's going to catch that too. So bit of a mistake there, and Demkina calling a draw onto that. Still quite a few stones come from each team, so still a chance to try and set up the end to make more out of this. This one's hanging high again, and again a wee bit on the steamy side, and that's disappointing because that was a really good opportunity to get into the front 4 foot and put a lot more pressure on them.
Looks like we've got about 3 stones each left. My co-commentator is wondering if he's hearing voices again.
I wasn't sure I had a co-commentator, that was the problem. John Heggie, who's sitting beside me, is our, what do I call you, John, technical director?
Okay, I'll go with that.
Right, and there's a nice stone down just wants to avoid coming too deep, slightly behind the 4 foot, behind the tee line. So still an opportunity to come down and sit on that.
It's interesting, 2 stones coming down that line, both tend to hang out there.
Yes, it looked like they were just played slightly heavy. They weren't swept into that position, but they, of their own accord got there. So I think they probably hung out a wee bit because of the slightly firmer shot. You want to be playing that with a sort of front 8 foot and then sweep it into position, and those were just slightly heavy stones. It's just making a play on the front ones just to try and sort of move the guards a wee bit. So now there's a red stone at the front of the house where she could raise onto the 2 yellows. So because there's 4 reds lying around various circles, she's wanted to just minimise that. Play a hit on the inside of this red, roll over into the house, and best position would be to be able to get another one in at the front of the 8 foot, or in the middle of the 8 foot, to stop that takeout that I've been talking about. A bit overswept that a wee bit. So I'm interested to see whether she makes a play on this front red one. Still thinking about draw.
Is that a case of just getting something into the head on the button to kind of, I don't know, clutter things up?
Well, she needs to get a 2, and if she can get one in there, it would certainly be difficult to get it out now. And then if she had it in the right place, she could then play the raised red onto the yellows with her last shot. So that would give her the opportunity to be able to get a 2 or 3 out of it. So I think she's probably trying to set up the end just to take the opportunity for. If you put a red right in on the button at the moment, then the straight red raise onto the two reds would be onto the 2 yellows would be a good opportunity to get a 3. But very difficult shot. But
this would be the setup for it.
Yeah. It's hanging very high at the moment, so be careful, that's too far back, and that will allow Tirinzoni to make a wee play off that and roll another yellow in to lie 3.
Should Tirinzoni still be concerned about that red stone at the front of the house, even if she got the red on the 4 foot away?
Well, I think it will depend on whether Demkina wants to just play a draw and take a 1, or whether she feels that it's something that she wants to get her to. I think at this stage, after 5 ends, she'd probably just take her 1. Depends very much on how she lies We're now down to Tirinzoni's last stone, is it, John?
It's difficult to peer around people that are sitting in the gallery here. But yes, looks like it.
So, sweeping this hard, quite close to the guard. Managed to get past it, and a hit, and then a roll, and a super stone.
That's really lovely,
And
very nice.
Yep, very good shot. So now a lot of pressure on Demkina. Just shows you what happens if you don't get one stone right, and she could have been in a situation where she got the first stone right and got the draw right onto the button. She would have been setting herself up for a 1 or a 2, and now she's faced with the possibility of a loss of 3 if she doesn't make a draw to the forefoot.
This is bread and butter for skips though, isn't it? Drawing to the button.
It should be, if you're a good skipper. You've seen one of my draws last night, you wouldn't have thought that.
Dear.
So, and it's actually, a lot of it's to do with the sweepers, and sweepers judging whether they've got the weights just right. Good communication between the sweepers and the number 3 in the head. This one's coming nicely, but it's a very good try. But it looks like it's just a 1 to Tirinzoni, and I think that's agreed. So a very good try, just sat down just in the last few feet. They swept it really hard, and I think that's probably a fair reflection on the end. Tirinzoni always looked like she was fairly well in control of it. A couple of draws that were made by teams where they got just a wee bit deep.